What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Instant Reaction here on the Colts Audio Network and on YouTube. I'm JJ Stankevitz, joined every week by Colts Ring of Honor wide receiver Bill Brooks to break down the Colts' latest game. Bill, the Colts 27-24 winners over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, a ton to chew on from this game, starting with the injury to Anthony Richardson that occurred in the first quarter. So, with about 5-6 minutes to go in the first quarter, Bill, Anthony scrambles, he gains 14 yards, he fumbles on the play, and that's when he first injured his hip. So, Richardson comes out of the game for 2 plays. He comes back into the game. By this time, the Colts are at the goal line. It's goal to go on the 6. Richardson runs the ball because Shane Steichen explained to us after the game. Here's why Richardson ran the ball, just for everyone to know that he's in the game. And Bill, I think you can attest to this, that if you're in a football game, you're good to go. That's the mentality that you got to have.
Yes.
So Richardson takes a carry because the Steelers were in a base defense with 3 linebackers, 4 DBs on the field. When they were in that look, the call was for Richardson to run the ball in that situation. Anthony takes the snap. He runs with it. He realizes, I can't really accelerate the way that I want to. That's what he told us after the game. So he goes down and starts to slide. Minkah Fitzpatrick hits him as he's giving himself up. In the helmet, by the way, it was helmet-to-helmet contact.
Yep.
The officials, Bill, after the game said in a pool report from Joel Erickson from the Indy Star that the contact was incidental.
That's an all.
So we're going to throw that to the side here. That play ends Anthony Richardson's day. He goes
Yep.
to the locker room. He comes back out. He wants to get back in the game, but ultimately everyone decides, Bill, it's not worth it. From a player perspective, Bill, I want to get your thoughts on this. Like when you're on the fence of like, should I go in? Should I not? Isn't it always like with the player, like you want to go in, but someone has to protect you in that situation? And to me, it feels like the Colts trainer, Shane Steichen, everyone involved said, let's take a breath here, Anthony. Like we don't need this to be a bigger issue than it is right now.
Usually what happens during that time period when the player is injured and he really wants to go back in, the coaches, the trainers are really trying to help the player. The player, only thing he thinks about, I want to go out there and compete. I want to be with my guys out there. I want to compete. I want to try to help win the game. I want to try to help score a touchdown. And the better thing is to do is to actually listen to the trainers and the coaches because they're looking at the big picture in regards to, okay, what am I going to need to do to protect the player from getting any serious injury or further injuring whatever's ailing him at the time? That's what they're looking at. And also, they're looking at, okay, I want to make sure that he's not going to do anything to hurt the team as well. So it's very important that coaches and trainers look at the big picture and look at the well-being of their player because they want to make sure that Anthony's all right, make sure that in the long term he's going to be healthy and ready to play. Hopefully next week and be ready to play and not be dinged up. So it's very important, but it's hard for a player to come out of the game and say that I can't go. Usually if he says that, more than likely the player is really hurt. For the most part, players want to go out there and compete, and they really have to protect the player from themselves by taking it out of their hands and making the decision for the player.
I actually heard Jason Garrett talk about this on Football Night in America. I was watching that before we started potting, Bill. Obviously, he's the longtime Dallas Cowboys coach, and he said that's one of the hardest things for a coach to do is to protect a player from himself, essentially. Because you as a coach, you also want to compete, right? You
Yeah.
want your best players out there. But ultimately, sometimes you just have to say, it's not worth it. And I think ultimately that's the decision that Shane Steichen and the Colts came to is like, right now, Anthony Richardson told us after the game he's hopeful about next week. He's not willing to make a declaration on it or anything, but he said his hip's a little bit sore right now. To make sure this isn't an issue that becomes anything bigger that holds Anthony out for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Hopefully he's out there against Jacksonville. That's a tough thing to do in the moment, but credit to the Colts training staff and to Shane Steichen for saying, yeah, you want to get back out there. Maybe you can't accelerate the way you want to. we got to hold off here. That's not an easy thing to do in that moment, Bill.
No, it's not an easy thing to do. And Shane has to think about, okay, yes, I want to win this football game, but after this game, we have 13 more games to play the rest of the year. So he has to think, he has to say, look, like I said before, he has to look at the big picture and think about what's going to happen down the road, having the players available, knowing that we already got enough guys dinged up as it is. A lot of guys didn't play today. So he's looking at the big picture to make sure, okay, let's make sure that we have these guys available later on in the season when the games are just as important later on as it is now. But the guys we have putting in there, we have confidence in those guys. So these guys can sit out for a play or two or sit out for the rest of the game, and we should be okay.
I mean, the other part of it, Bill, is like Anthony Richardson was cooking when he was in there today.
Wow.
He was 3 of 4 on his throws. He hit that 32-yarder to Michael Pittman Jr. to start the game, and that sparked the Colts' first scoring drive. But the Colts were running the ball really, really well when he was in the game. Pittsburgh did not have many answers for Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. Some of the numbers here, Bill, the Colts with Richardson in those first 2 drives, with him on the field for, all but 2 plays, they ran the ball 11 times for 68 yards. They gained 4 first downs and averaged 6.2 yards per carry. After Richardson exited the game, the Colts ran it 20 times for 66 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor went from averaging 5.5 yards per carry on the first 2 drives down to 3.4 on the next 8 drives. So that just tells you that the Colts game plan was working against the Steelers front. That, by the way, I mean, the Colts were without Ryan Kelly in this game. Let's not forget that. Tanner
Yes.
Bortolini comes in making his first NFL appearance with Ryan Kelly ruled out with a neck injury that held him out of practice last week, Thursday, Friday. And they were able to run it early against what I think a lot of people think legitimately is the best front four in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean they ran the ball well, and I think a lot of that goes to AR's presence out there in the football field. I mean, just his presence, knowing that he can run the ball, he can make some big plays with his legs. So the Steelers defense has to take that into account when they're going up against the Colts offense. So yes, the numbers probably look a little bit better with AR in there as far as running the ball than with Flacco back there. So give the old line credit as well. They did a nice job. Tanner Bortolini in there. I know after the first touchdown, he was so excited running back down the sideline, seeing him there, and that was fun to watch and see that young man being so excited, getting his first start and having the opportunity to go out there and play against a very good defensive front of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And from my account, from what I looked at and saw at the game and saw a little bit, few replays, he looked like he did a nice job out there, Tanner
Mm-hmm.
Bortolini. He looked like he did a real nice job, and I'm happy for the young man. It was good. So, running game is very important for the Colts, and having AR out there, it changes things. It changes how the defenses play the Colts in regards to scheming them, game playing for them, looking at Jonathan Taylor running the ball, looking at AR running the ball, whoever is back there. So, not having AR out there does things differently for the defenses as they approach and play the Colts.
All right, Bill, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What was your 40 time? I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. I'm going somewhere with this.
My 40 time roughly is about 4.53-ish,
All
say
right.
4.53,
Well,
4.55.
at what weight? Again, I'm asking a
Oh,
man his weight, but at what weight?
that's all right. I was probably about 187, 188.
Okay. So Tanner Bortolini at the NFL Combine earlier this year at Lucas Oil Stadium ran a 4.94 40-yard dash at 303 pounds. I think he ran faster back to the sideline after that first drive, where I don't know if anyone picked it up, but the Colts score that touchdown and everyone's celebrating with JT. Bortolini is running as fast as he can toward the Colts sideline, like all the way down to the end where the offensive line sits. And the only thing that stopped him was like hugs and high fives from guys like Tyquan Lewis and his other teammates. And I asked him after the game, actually, like, hey, what do you think was faster? He was like, I don't know. I think I was faster running back to the sideline. You said this like burst of energy. what a first drive for him. Like they hit that 32-yarder, like I mentioned, to Pittman, and then it's just run, 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 run. And he's blocking his butt off on those first couple of plays. So give Tanner Bortolini a ton of credit for that early on in this game.
It's exciting to see young players get so excited out there when they're playing and they have an opportunity to go out there and play. And I'm sure been looking forward to this for quite a while. And now that he had the opportunity to go out there and play, like I said, by my account, from what I saw there and a couple of replays I saw, looks like he did a nice job. And I was so happy just to see his excitement and how much it meant to him to go out there and play well and to definitely score on that first drive.
So the Colts, after Anthony Richardson gets hurt, they're up 14-0. Joe Flacco throws the touchdown to Josh Downs to get the Colts to 14-0. This is why you sign Joe Flacco, right? Like Shane Steichen, for everything that we know about Shane, that he's a great developer of star quarterbacks, whether it's been Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, we believe he'll do that with Anthony Richardson. Like, let's talk about Shane Steichen as like one of the best coaches for a backup quarterback in the NFL. Because now we saw with Gardner Minshew last year,
Yep.
where Gardner Minshew comes in and Shane Steichen squeezes every drop he can out of Gardner Minshew to get the Colts almost in the playoffs. Now Joe Flacco comes in, and Joe Flacco is the comeback player of the year last year. He's got, Super Bowl MVP. Josh Downs called him a Hall of Famer today. And but what he got out of Joe Flacco coming off the bench today, just like Shane Steichen, like round of applause. This is now a thing that Shane not only gets the most out of his starting quarterback, but you give him a backup and he's going to thrive with it. And this goes back to something that Chris Ballard has talked about with Shane Steichen. Like whenever he has praised Shane Steichen, he has said he doesn't complain. He doesn't, mope about a situation. It's who's up? How are we going to make him succeed? And all right, this guy's down, that guy's down. All right, what are we going to do about it? Not woe is me. And that from your head coach on down, like, okay, we got to go to Joe Flacco. All right, maybe our run game won't be as successful as we schemed it up to be. But you know what? We're going to be efficient on offense. We're going to convert key third downs. We're going to put our guys in the right positions to succeed. And we're going to go win this football game. And that's exactly what happened today, Bill.
Exactly. And that shows what type of coach Shane Steichen is. He knows who he has out there in the football field. He knows Joe Flacco is not AR. So there's totally different talents out there in regards to both the quarterbacks. And he knows what Joe Flacco can do well and what he's going to stay away from in regards to Joe Flacco, where he can't do some things as well as maybe AR can. So he plays to his strengths. And that's what good coaches do. You play to the player's strength. You put the players in position to succeed. So there are some plays that, you know what, AR is good at, and there's some plays that Joe Flacco is good at. So he's going to run the plays for Joe Flacco when Joe Flacco's in there. And Joe Flacco did a nice job, and we saw this in training camp with Joe Flacco when he was up there, how good he was, how he was hitting the receivers, putting the ball where only the receiver could catch it, or if the receiver didn't catch it, it was an incomplete pass. So he never puts the ball in harm's way, and he does a good job. And he did that today. He put the ball where only the receiver can catch it, and gave them an opportunity to make a play after the catch. And one of the plays that stood out to me is a third down. He threw it to Josh Downs, and it was before Josh Downs got the first down. It was actually behind the sticks, and he had to break a tackle in order to get the first down. He made the guy miss. Josh Downs got the first down. And to me, that's just showing that, okay, Flacco's going to get the ball to the players and let the players make a play. And that's what he did with Josh Downs. He got the ball in Josh Downs' hands and said, Josh, make a play. Make a guy miss. Get up, get a first down, give us some more down so we can try to move this ball down the field. And that's what happened. So give Flacco credit. It was nice to see him go out there and play. And Joe Cool looked like Joe Cool, just going out there and didn't look like anything fazed him at all, just playing the game the way he knows how to play it.
Julian Blackman, after the game, he was kind of asked about Flacco, and he just goes, "Man, he's the guru out there. Like this team loves this guy." But you're absolutely right about the third downs, Bill. Josh Downs today, I mean, what a fantastic game he had. And that one where he broke the tackle on the sideline, just like
Yes.
he's quick, he's agile. Those are the kind of plays that like Josh Downs has in him. Here's the thing about Flacco though. So, all right, I mentioned the run game maybe didn't have as much success once Richardson is out of the game. But Flacco today on third down, he went 6 of 8 on third down for 72 yards. All 6 completions went for a first down. The Colts entering this game had converted three first downs on third down through the air the entire season. And Flacco doubled that
Of that,
today.
yes.
So, and also 2 of those went for touchdowns on third down. So both of his touchdowns that he threw today came on third down. But I mean, you're absolutely right, Bill. Like thinking back to training camp, this is like exactly what Flacco did. He got the ball out on time to the right guy in the right situation. That's exactly what you want a 17-year veteran to be able to do. The Colts offense is better with Anthony Richardson on the field. Like full stop. Mo Alley
Yes.
Cox told me after the game he thought they were going to score 40 today if Richardson was able to stay in the game. But if you need Flacco to come in, you are going to be able to play winning football because of the way that he reads things out. He knows exactly what to do with the football. By the way, he's been playing in the NFL Mike Tomlin's entire coaching career. Like, just as a total aside, like he's seen plenty of Steelers football.
Yes.
And I thought just, again, this is why you signed Joe Flacco. This is a great job by Shane Steichen, once again with the backup quarterback. And those third downs, Bill, won the Colts this football game.
And the third downs are big. I mean, as we talked about before, third down plays a lot into how your offense performs out there in the football field. Being successful on third down does a number of things. One, it increases your time of possession of the football, which the Colts need to do uh, this week, and they haven't done it in the past few
It was like
weeks.
28
But
minutes this week. Yeah.
yeah, so it's a big jump from the previous weeks. And also by getting first downs, you give yourself more opportunities, of course, to make plays. And then you move the ball down the field. And you know what? We have a lot of weapons on the team. So you try to have more, we want to have more opportunities to spread the ball around. It gives you more players out there in the football field. So Joe Flacco's done a nice job of getting the ball to the right guy at the right time in this game. And so it's very important that the Colts made sure that they got these first downs and were successful on third downs to keep the ball moving, to keep the chains moving, and just do a nice job of actually moving down the field and getting points as well.
Last thing about the offense here, I do want to talk about Drew Ogletree's touchdown because this was such a nice play for the Colts in that and coached up really well. So it's 3rd and 10 near I don't think it was goal to go in this situation, but it's 3rd and 10. And Ogletree chips TJ Watt, which the Colts had their tight ends do all day. Those
Mm-hmm.
guys knew. Mo Alley Cox told me that the tight end room knew this was not a game where they were going to get a bunch of targets because they were going to be chipping Watt all game long. And that's what they did. TJ Watt did not really show up on the stat sheet today. It was,
I think he had only two. I think he only had two tackles. I think today,
yep.
something like that.
You
Yep.
talk about having a good plan for TJ Watt. Now, Cam Hayward, he got the
Yes.
Colts a little bit in this game. He's a all-pro future Hall of Fame level player. But they didn't get beat by TJ Watt. So
No.
that, bit of a wash there. Uh, but those tight ends knew, all right, we're probably not going to get the ball this game. Those guys are so selfless. I was talking to Tom Manning, the tight ends coach this week, about just what they do in the run game. And he told me like the attitude in that room, starting with Mo Alley Cox on down, is hey, whatever it takes to win the game. If we don't get a target, if we have to run block and we have to chip help, that's fine as long as we win and we feel like we contributed to it. They did today. But on that play, something else the Colts tight ends knew is that sometimes when you chip, the Pittsburgh defense just doesn't cover you. So that play, the play was designed to go to Michael Pittman Jr. And the Steelers knew that. So they had 5 defenders in the vicinity of Pittman and Alec Pierce to the right of Joe Flacco. And Ogletree's a little bit late getting off his chip, but he works into space and there's no one there. Patrick Queen is flowing away from him toward Pittman and Pierce. Flacco sees that, just dumps the ball off to Ogletree, and no one on the Steelers can get there in time before he crosses the goal line. So great read by Flacco. Great job by Ogletree to still work into space. And then great coaching by the Colts to say, look, hey, you're going to chip. This is what you're going to do on TJ Watt. This is your job today. But by the way, still work into space after you're done chipping him because there's an opportunity there, and it all came together on that touchdown.
Yeah, I mean that was great for Drew to do that. And there was one coach I had when I was playing. He always said, "Everybody running, everybody alert," meaning that there's no really specific place where the ball's supposed to go, so to speak. Meaning that you know what, if the quarterback sees something, he can get the ball to any one of you guys that are out in the route. So it's good for Drew that hey, look, you know what, I chipped, I did my job. That's what I was supposed to do. But I'm still gonna go out in the route. I might get open, I might not get open, or you know what? I might be a decoy, so to speak, and someone might come to me, get someone else open down the field. But it so happened that Drew's the one that got open himself, and he was wide open in the middle of the field. And then give Flacco a lot of credit. He saw it, he read it. I get my ball out to the guy that's open, no one's around him. Let's see what he can do with the football. He got the ball into the end zone. Nice play by the Colts, big play. And that says a lot to me about the tight end and the tight end room, about going out there and we're just going to do our job. If our job is to block this week, that's what we're going to do. You know what? There's going to be a week where the tight ends are going to come up big. You know, they might catch 7, 8 balls, the whole group of them, or might catch 10 balls. Who knows how many balls they might catch, but they're going to play a big part in the game down the road. But as for right now, if it's blocking or chipping someone to prevent them from making a big play, that's what they'll do. And that says a lot about the tight ends, and it says a lot about this team, really, because I think I think they have a lot of unselfish guys on the team. So when you have a lot of unselfish guys, you can do a lot of good things out there in the football field.
All right, let's talk about the Colts defense in this game, Bill. They come into today without, and I don't want to lose sight of it. They come in without DeForest Buckner, who misses another, his second game out of a minimum of 4 while he's on injured reserve. They don't have Juju Brents, who's also on IR. They don't have Kwity Paye. They don't have Kenny Moore the second. So you are depleted on defense. And also on defensive line, by the way, still going back, you don't have Samson Ebukam. Everyone's dealing with
Yes.
injuries. The Steelers didn't have Alex Highsmith, all that. But you are thin up front in this game. You're thin at cornerback in this game. And I thought you got really good play out of Sam Womack the third. He had a couple of plays in this game. You got good play out of Isaiah Land. I
Yes.
don't know how that was roughing the passer. Looked like a form tackle to me, but neither here nor there.
They said yes, he drove him into the ground with his
Body
body, I
weight,
guess.
yeah.
His body weight. So that's what they said. So
That's what the call was.
yep, that's what it
Um,
was.
you are, you got Chris Lamons starting at slot corner. Kenny Moore the second, so important to this defense, right? And you get plays out of Chris Lamons, who sticks with Justin Fields, who gives the ball away on that play, but that's because Lamons stayed with him. You
Hmm.
get, a couple breakups out of Sam Womack. You get then a Nick Cross. Like this dude, like Nick Cross is playing really, really good football right now.
Solid football, all 4 games he's played in. He's played some real good football for the Indianapolis Colts on defense this year.
And the forced fumble he had on Pickens where he stays with the play, that's a game changer. Like I can't remember many 90 plus yard drives that didn't end with points, but that's what the Steelers had right there. You're getting EJ Speed playing at an
Yes.
outrageous level right now. I saw a stat that I think he's tied with Zach Thomas for the most consecutive games with 10 or more tackles in NFL history right now.
Wow.
Like he's playing out of his mind. Zaire Franklin's playing great. You're getting the interior now of okay, you don't have Buck in there, but that Grover Stewart and Raekwon Davis
Raekwon?
pairing is playing
Yes.
awesome. Dio Dangbo had a sack and a half today. Like you're seeing guys step up. Jalen Jones had that huge pass breakup down the field.
Yep.
This is a team that you love seeing this because this defense got kind of railroaded early in the season, right?
Hmm.
Where the narrative was this defense can't stop the run, they stink, they can't do anything, and now they've lost a bunch of guys. They've lost probably their best player in DeForest Buckner, and they've started to turn it around. And to me, that speaks to a lot of resiliency on this team, something you can build on as you hopefully start getting those guys back. You get Kenny back, you get Quiddy back, you eventually get Buck back. That's all really, really encouraging, hopefully, as the Colts get healthier as the season goes on.
Yeah, that speaks to the leadership of the defense as well. Talking about those guys like Kenny Moore and Zaire Franklin and EJ and even Buck, even though he's not there, those guys, Grover, those guys pouring into those guys as young guys that, hey, look, we're going to stick with it. We're good. We're good enough to make plays and we're going to turn this thing around from a defensive standpoint and we're going to be just fine. And they went out today and they did what they needed to do to win the game. Yes, they gave up, it was over 400 yards to the Steelers, but they did the things they needed to do to win the game. They got the turnovers, which they wanted. They got 2 turnovers today. So that nice job. They sacked Justin Fields, so they got after Justin Fields. So they did do some good things out there. And the guys that stepped in, the Womacs and Lamons, those guys stepped in and did a nice job. And you like to see that. And I like to see Dio, the way he's playing. Dio is playing extremely well, playing very physical, giving great effort out there, making plays out there. So, you got a lot of guys playing hard. Carlise, he made some plays
Yeah,
out there. So
Carlisle, he had a
yeah,
really nice
Carlisle, I'm
game.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made some plays out there. So those guys are playing well. And when they have the opportunity, that's what they need to do. They need to go out there and make plays. And they are doing that. And we talked about Nick Cross making plays, Julian Blackman making plays. So those guys are doing their job, and that's what you want to see from a defense. And one thing they're doing right now, which I'm happy about, they're sticking together. Yeah, people are
Mhm.
talking about them and things like that, they might not be playing as well as they really want to, but they're sticking together and they're coming together. And as long as they can continue to do that, stick together, come together, and believe in themselves, then they will play to the level that they want to play and that they expect of themselves.
Yeah, the Colts get 4 sacks in this game, but their pressure, their front was overwhelming. Per Pro Football Focus, they had 22 total pressures and a pass rush win rate of 42.9%. Those are both season
Wow.
highs. And Pittsburgh's offensive line's banged up, right?
Yeah.
Like James Daniels exited this game. They don't have Isaac Seumalo. Troy Fontenot's out. So like they were banged up front, but good. Like the Colts, that's what this should look like against a banged up offensive line. And by the way, the Colts are banged up. Like Tyquan Lewis, he exited the game with the elbow, but he came into this game with an injury that led
Yep.
him to be questionable. And like good game for Latu, great game for Odangbo, Grover Stewart, Raekwon Davis had their moments in pass rush. Like all around, just this is a really encouraging game as a building block for that Colts front. But again, Bill, I just think the thing I take away from this game is just resiliency. Like with everything stacked up against the Colts defense, they were still able to come out. And yeah, Justin Fields had his moments. Justin Fields is a good quarterback. Like
He's a
that dude,
good
that
quarterback
dude
and a
can
very good
ball.
athlete. Yes, good
That
quarterback and a very good athlete.
he made some plays today that was like those are Pittsburgh's got a pretty good quarterback back there. Uh, but for this Colts defense again with the amount of injuries that piled up, I was so impressed by them. And then situationally, I thought this was a really, really nice game for the Colts. And the play I want to highlight here, Bill. So the Steelers have the ball, they're driving down
Hmm.
3 after the 2-minute warning, and the the Colts get a bit of a break. There's kind of the bad snap exchange where Fields loses 12 yards on the play.
Hmm.
So then he throws it deep to Pickens. Jalen Jones, great pass breakup. He's in one-on-one coverage. That is just like mano a mano, and Jones wins that play. Great play by Jalen Jones. So now it's 3rd and 22. And you're right there, Bill. You're looking to set up 4th down. You're not looking to convert. The Colts are playing everyone back. So Justin Fields dumps it off to Najee Harris. And when that pass is completed, EJ Speed is 12 yards away from Harris, who is a couple yards from the sideline. I don't know why, but Harris didn't immediately go out of bounds, or he didn't run upfield and then just get out of bounds. That allows EJ Speed to tackle Najee Harris inbounds and keep the clock running. And I asked EJ after the game, like, what's the technique there? And he said, we practice that all the time. We practice in 2-minute drills, tackling guys inbounds, and all it takes is you just got to tackle him backwards. You
Yep.
got to make sure he's going backwards when you tackle him because they will run the clock.
Stop his forward progress.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. Again, Heady play by EJ Speed, confused as to what Najee Harris was doing on that play, but thankfully that's what he did. Uh, Also, shout out to Najee Harris for the double birds.
Yeah, he might be a
Not
little
a good look,
lighter.
buddy.
He might be a little lighter in his pocket come next week.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, bud. I mean, if you're
Not a
gonna
good
give
thing
okay,
too.
if you're gonna give double birds to a whole stadium, at least average more than a yard and a half per carry. Anyways, EJ tackles him going backwards, keeps the clock running. That means Pittsburgh has to now it's 4th and 11, and they are desperation mode. But now they're hurried up. You
Yep.
can't get in the huddle. You might have practiced something. Now it's just oh, we got to get up there. We got to make a play. And nothing's open downfield. Great coverage by the Colts. Fields throws it. Julian Blackman drops what would have been an interception. It doesn't matter. Game's over at that point. Um, just great situational football by EJ Speed in that moment. You love seeing that. Again, that's a sign of a well-coached defense.
Yes.
You're able to make a play like that, Bill.
Yes. And I mean, it's a big play because if he gets out of bounds, then the Steelers have time to think about what play they want to run, get the personnel in there they need to get in there, and they can do whatever they almost want with the gets out of bounds, stops the clock for a fourth down play. But good play by EJ Speed, knowing that, hey, look, if I can get to this guy, stop him, stop his forward progress, keep him in bounds, the clock's going to run. They're going to have a hard time coming up and getting a playoff. But you know what? Coach did that's to me, that's just smart football and being aware of the situation, aware of what's going on, and aware of what you need to do to hopefully get this team off the field and get the ball back to your team. And EJ Speed made a nice play, and it's good that you know what the coach really rep that in practice, doing those things. Those little things, make a big difference. A lot of times you do certain things all season long, from training camp, first few weeks of the season, the middle of the season, and those situations might never come up, might not never come up in a game in the first part of the season. But then that one time it does come up later on, this time week 4, but it might be week 8, it pays off usually. And today it paid off for the Colts as far as keeping Najee Harris in bounds, and that clock was still running.
All right, it paid off for the Colts in a 27-24 win. Bill, the Colts are now 500 on the season at 2-2. They got a critical stretch coming up. If you think about the season in quarters, the Colts they go 2-2 in the first quarter of the season. The second quarter of the season is now defined by all 3 AFC South road games. At Jacksonville in week 5, at Tennessee in week 6, at Houston in week 8, sandwiched around a home game against the Miami Dolphins in week 7. This is a stretch now, Bill, where the Colts have to build on it. But it's just like baseline, it's so good to be 2-2 where you can actually stack something. As opposed to if you're talking about 1-3 right now, or God forbid you're the Jaguars, you're 0-4, and you got to climb out of that hole while facing all these divisional opponents, like that is a tough situation if you're in that hole. The Colts are not. And now you can really start thinking about stacking some wins and staking your claim as a contender in the AFC South.
Yeah, now you first of all, you're gonna stack these last 2 games. You won these last 2 games, so you stack back-to-back wins for yourselves against 2 teams at home at Lucas Oil Stadium. Now, these next couple of games, 3 of the 4 against AFC South opponents on the road. It's going to be big games, so you're going to have to go out there and play well. So you're back to 500. You're playing better football right now at this moment. Now it's time to go and say, okay, these AFC South games, we've always talked about them, they count as 2 or 1.5, however you want to look at it, but they're very important games. Colts can go out and take care of business against the Jaguars in Jacksonville, and then come back and play against Tennessee the following week. You know what? To get these next 2 games, then you're 4-2, and then after that, anything can happen. So, I mean, to me, this game is real big for the Colts to get to 500, get back to 2-2. So now you can move forward. So we'll see what happens. Have to correct a lot of mistakes that were made today. But once they do that, it's a lot better correcting mistakes after a win than after a loss. So moving forward, I think the Colts feel pretty good right now about themselves, how they're turning this thing around. And hopefully they can continue to make that turn as they go forward and play the next couple of games.
All right, well, Bill and I will be back next Sunday night after the Colts face the Jacksonville Jaguars at Everbank Stadium down in Jacksonville. The Jaguars are 0-4, the Colts are 2-2, but as we know, Bill, Jacksonville's a tough place to play.
Yes, it has been for the Colts for the last
A little
few
too long.
years.
A little
Yes.
too long. Let's see if the Colts can break that streak and climb to over 500. Again, we'll be back 1 week from today. Between now and then, stick with us here on the Colts Audio Network and here on YouTube for all of your news, analysis, and breakdowns of the Colts, Steelers, and looking ahead to the Colts and the Jaguars. For Bill Brooks, I'm JJ Stankevitz. Thanks for listening to this episode of Instant Reaction. Talk to you next Sunday after, hopefully, a Colts win in Jacksonville. So long.